Okay, hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking101 here, except I'm not going to be here when you're watching this. No, when you're watching this video, I'm going to be on vacation, which I'm really excited for, because I don't get to go on vacation very often. The last time I went on any real vacation was back in 2018. Me and my mom and my mom's boyfriend, Jim, went down to Florida for about a week. It was really fun. We went to Disney World. There were some fans there, and we got to hang out with them, so that was really great. But before that trip to Florida, it probably was like when I was 12 or 13 was the last time I was on an extended vacation. I don't travel much, so I'm really pumped for this. I'm going to Vermont, and I'm going to be skiing, and I've never skied before, so we'll see if this is followed up with a Twitter post of me, like, with a concussion or something. Just like, I tried skiing, it didn't work. But hey, I'm excited. Current Matthew is excited for this, okay? Well, anyway, since I'm going on vacation, since I'm going on vacay, I decided to make some videos for you guys while I've been gone. Now, I didn't really know what to do, so whenever I get any sort of video idea, any kind of goofball idea that enters my head, I put it in a list in like a Word document, and I just have it on my desktop, so that way I'd be like, okay, what do I want to do today? I can't really think of a video idea. I just go down this list, and some of them are videos that just never manifest. Others are ones that I know I'm going to do, like the One Piece movie reviews. They're all on there and everything like that. I just did a video on Fisher Tiger recently that was on there for at least over a year. It just takes me a while to get to certain projects. But anyway, I was going down that list just to see if there was anything I can do while I'm on vacation, like a quick video to get done, and I saw one on All Might's car, and I was like, holy shit, that's right! I wanted to do a video on All Might's car. Remember the car? The car he had in the arc when Izuku went all brooding and emo and covered in dirt, and he's like, All Might, I don't need you anymore. I'll be the one to bring All for One in all by myself. Like, Deku had his little emo Batman moment, right? It was like raining for the entire arc, and All Might was on a quest to try to save his student, and he was driving around the destroyed streets of Tokyo in this really badass, souped-up supercar Batmobile, All Might mobile kind of thing, right? And he called it Hercules, and it was awesome. And I'm just like, all right, I don't know what else I could really talk about it, because I don't really know. I'm not a car guy, in case you didn't know that. The extent of my car knowledge is when I made that video on Ida, and that was pretty much it. I know what an engine kinda does, and I know what a battery does, and maybe a carburetor. Does a carburetor, is that a car thing? Yeah, I think that's a car thing. Like I say, I don't know much. Alternator, that's a car term. There is 100% an alternator in vehicles, unless it's an electric vehicle, in which case I do not know. Probably not. So All Might, obviously, he's kind of retired from being a hero, right? Because he can't go into his buff muscle form anymore, because he passed on One for All to Izuku, and also with his injuries and everything, he can only maintain that form for like literally a second, and that's it. Although, I feel like we could still have a moment where All Might does go into his muscle form. I feel like he has just enough time in his muscle form to get off like one good solid punch on somebody if he had to, right? Like, it wouldn't be as powerful as it used to be, not even nearly, because he doesn't have One for All anymore. But man, that'd be really cool if they did manage to take down All for One, and he's on the ground, and All Might just goes over and just goes, buff! Boom! And then shrinks back down to like his normal form, right? Like, that would be something cool. Well, anyway, he's kind of retired from being a hero for that reason, but then I started to think, like, wait a second, he doesn't have to stop being a hero just because he can't go into his muscle form anymore. I mean, obviously, he's very weak. He's weaker than the average human, even, you know, in his regular form, right, because of his injuries and stuff. But it's like, dude, I don't know much about comic books, but, like, Iron Man, right? Like, Tony Stark is, like, pretty much just an average dude, except he has a lot of money. And Batman, okay, granted, Tony Stark and Batman and, you know, Bruce Wayne, they're, like, in good physical condition, but still, they rely on, like, their vast amounts of money and connections, and they get really cool, like, tech, and that's how they fight, right? Anybody ever watch Static Shock growing up? One of my favorite characters in Static Shock was Gear, was Static's friend, because he was like, oh, okay, for most of the show, he didn't really do much of anything. I think Richie was his name, and then all of a sudden, he develops, like, super intelligence, and he has this really cool, fancy backpack and everything, and I'm just like, oh, that's so cool, right? I love Static Shock, right? But anyway, so, like All Might could do that kind of shit, right? Because All Might has been, he's like the Superman of the My Hero Academia world. Not in the sense of Superman's abilities, because he's not even close to that. Superman can, like, blow up suns, if just like a clap if he wanted to, right? That's probably canon. But All Might can't do that kind of shit. But in terms of being, like, a hero that the world all acknowledges and looks up to and everything, everybody knows about All Might. Everybody has to thank All Might for what he did for over 4 decades of saving the world and becoming that pillar of peace, right? What I mean by that is All Might can pretty much get whatever he wants whenever he wants it, right? If he really wanted to, he could just like live in a giant mansion like Bruce Wayne does, but he doesn't do that because that's not All Might's style. That's not Toshinori's style. But he could if he wanted to, right? Well, along with that, with 40 years of saving the world, like traveling the world, not just in Japan, but he goes to America. He started out in America, going around the world saving people, right? So I imagine like if he wanted a really cool Batmobile kind of thing with like, you know, he pushes a button and like rockets shoot out of it, or it can like turn into a submarine, or it could fly. All he has to do is make one phone call, and then it's like, hey, I need this. It's like, okay, All Might, we'll get on it right away. Like, he could do that with anything. All Might could be like, hey, I need a power suit. I need, like, an Iron Man-esque power suit right away, you know, in my size and everything. It has, like, reinforced steel armor. It has, like, repulsor cannons. I need, like, heat-seeking missiles. Like, I need all that shit. And it'd be like, all right, give me, like, a week, and I'll get to it. Like, he has connections all over the world. Like, the greatest, you know, support team for heroes in the entire... That's a whole industry in the My Hero Academia world, you understand? So, I'm feeling like, yeah, now, he's weak enough that, yeah, if he gets hit with something really hard, he's gonna go down, but, like, you could still incorporate some stuff there, and that's where the car comes from, and I just love the fact All Might was so cool in that arc. He had, like, a really badass leather jacket, and he's just driving around the city in this souped-up, awesome car, and then some villains attack the car, and he's, like, swerving around in the car, and, it has, like, missiles and stuff attached to it, and then the freaking villains use, like, the thunder spears from Attack on Titan to, like, you know, blast the windows out. And I was really worried because I'm like, oh no, is the car destroyed? But then later he's driving it. It's just like, oh man, that's an awesome car. And even All Might said, he's just like, yeah, my car, man. If that was any other car, those grenades, those thunder spears would have destroyed the car. But this is Hercules, right? Also, the fact it was named after, you know, Heracles or Hercules, you know, whatever, Greek, Roman, doesn't matter. That earns points for me, a mythology fan, right? So, I mean, once again, I don't know anything about cars, but, like, okay, if you do know stuff about cars, if there's somebody watching this video that, like, is an engineer and, like, really knows stuff about cars, you know, is a vehicle, like a battle vehicle, kind of like the Batmobile? And I'm thinking of the Batmobile, like, in the Chris Nolan movies, right? Like, is the Batmobile there, like, practical? Like, could you actually build something like that? Like, I know they did it in the movies. They made, like, the vehicles in the movies and stuff, but could you actually make something like that? Because part of me feels like all that heavy armor on, like, a vehicle like that, maybe it would be too heavy to drive around in. Would it be practical? Or, like, a James Bond vehicle. All the different, you know, cars that James Bond has used over the years. We push a button and, like, giant missiles and shit, you know, fly out. Like, is that like a practical thing to actually build, or would there be so many other problems with this? Like, obviously you can't install a car, cannot have heavy armor and be a submarine. It's not possible. I don't know. Can it be a heavy armored car and a submarine? I have no idea. It might be able to, right? So, yeah, like, I feel like All Might just, you know, driving around in that thing was cool enough, and I hope he continues to do it. I hope in this arc coming up in My Hero Academia, where we're getting into the second war with the League of Villains and, you know, Tomura and All for One and everything like that, I'm hoping All Might plays a role rather than just being behind the scenes and, like, you know, like being like a correspondent and just being like, okay, now, you know, Monoma, use warp to send everybody over there. Okay, now I want to present Mike. Aizawa, you go do, I guess Aizawa won't be doing much of anything, but, like, Endeavor, Hawks, you go over there. Shot, you do this. I mean, he could be like a coordinator kind of situation. That could be his job, you know, but I feel like he could get out there. He could do stuff, right? Because literally he has access to, like, anything he ever wanted. You know, if he wants, like, an Iron Man suit, like, okay, in My Hero Academia, they have, like, AI and, like, robots and stuff like that exists. It's even actually a little bit more advanced than in our world, because things like holograms and stuff are pretty common in the My Hero Academia world. Also, the fact, look at all the crazy shit that they did just to separate the villains and, like, all that. Like, at this point when I'm filming the video, just the spoilers for that chapter are out yet, but by the time you are seeing this, it will be out. So I just read the spoilers for that chapter of, like, when they separated everybody, and they have, like, the giant floating island to get around Tomura's decay, and they had all, like, you know, of course Troy had the hidden mechanisms to, like, capture all of the villains and, like, separate them through the warps, right? So all that stuff they were able to accomplish in mere months. By the way, they can make an Iron Man suit. I mean, would it have everything that, like, Tony Stark's Iron Man suit would in, like, Endgame, like the nanotech? That might be a little bit too much, but in terms of, like, you know, Iron Man 2, like the Mark 6 suit or whatever, like the triangle one, like the Mark 7 one from from Avengers, like the original Avengers, I feel like they could probably make something like that for All Might if they really wanted to. If he really wanted something like that, they could do it, right? So yeah, make All Might Iron Man. Just do it, right? And he could still fight. He could get. How awesome would it be for All Might to land like right next to Izuku and be like, "I am here, young Izuku." Like, All Might, what? And it wouldn't even be, dude. It wouldn't even be like the regular All Might suit. It would be like the size of when he goes into his muscle form, right? It would be like All Might's version of like the Hulkbuster suit kind of thing. That's what it would be. I mean, if you're gonna go with it, go all the way. Don't just have a regular Iron Man suit. Make it a Hulkbuster. It shows up with All Might's like hairstyle, like antenna, and it has like the symbol on it and everything like that. And he's just like, Texas Smash. You're just like, yeah, that'd be awesome. I also looked into this, and in the first My Hero Academia movie, if you remember, David Shield, who I believe still is canon in the story. I don't think the events of that movie are canon, but like David Shield and Melissa are canon characters in My Hero Academia. Because I think like the device during that arc with Hercules, when Deku gets the mid gauntlets, they were like the lowered version of the full gauntlets that Melissa developed for Izuku during that movie. So it's like the implication is like this technology does still exist, and like Melissa and David are like working with other, tech crews out there in the world to provide these for heroes. So that's really cool, right? So I think that's the implication. But anyway, when All Might was in his young age, when he just started out as a hero in the United States, and he was with David Shield, they had the All-Mobile, which was like a really interesting like shape. Like it had like 3 wheels on it and stuff, and he was like driving that around the city, and it could fire missiles, and it had like shield technology, like force field tech and everything. It had like jet boosters, and it could fly, and like that was really cool. Although I still prefer Hercules because it's more of like, here's the thing, what I think they were inspiring that from. The All-Mobile in the movie was, I think, based off of the old school Batmobile from like the Adam West show. That was more of like an elaborate kind of car. And then Hercules is based off of the more serious Batman movies from recent years, like The Dark Knight and stuff, where the Batmobile is not so much like goofy. It has like fins sticking out of it and the giant bat symbol on the side of it, and the wheels with like the bat spokes or anything like that. No, it's just like a heavily armored vehicle that it just looks really badass, right? It's very dark, very low to the ground, and just zooms through the city at like 300 miles an hour. It still has rocket boosters. It can still fire shots and everything like that. It has like a Gatling gun on the side of it, like a mini gun. Like that's the kind of jazz. And I think Hercules could do all that stuff too, right? It was also important to mention there that scene when those 2 villains attacked Hercules, and All Might hits like the ejector seat, and he like gets out right before it gets like destroyed. Not destroyed, but like the explosion. Those 2 villains were like looking at All Might, and it's like, oh, that can't be All Might. Look at him. He's so feeble. He's so weak. And All Might, even in his weak form, stared down these 2 villains with the eyes of a hero. The eyes of a man that has saved the world for 40 years, that has faced down threat after threat, defeated more villains than he could count. He stares down these 2 random villains that I guess were freed by All for One, that were sent to like attack him or whatever. He just looks at him. He's just like, I will let no harm befall Izuku. And everyone just like even though he's just this feeble man that you could honestly just go over and like push over probably with how weak All Might is in that state, the intimidation from just his glare is enough to be like, we're not messing with you. I mean, yeah, you look all feeble and stuff. You're still All Might, though. You are still All Might, right? So, yeah, I also feel like All Might just over the years probably might have developed some basic, like, self-defense kind of skills. Like, even if someone were to try to, like, punch him, yeah, if you connect, he's probably going to go down, but like just through fighting and all the experience, like, yeah, so even though One for All got taken away from him, got passed down to Izuku, and he doesn't have his buff form anymore, he still has 40 years of battle experience. That did not just disappear when he's in this form. So if someone goes to try to hit him, All Might still reflexively would be like, whoa, and like try to like grab his opponent and knock him away. He wouldn't be as good at it, but he would still be able to like do that because that's how he's used to fighting and everything. Oh my god, anyway. Yeah, All Might's car, Hercules, really cool, and All Might could become the next Iron Man, and he could get, like, really cool gadgets and stuff. He could get a laser gun. Could somebody give All Might a laser gun? please, like, anybody out there, a really like a fantastical kind of railgun kind of situation? Oh my god, that'd be great. He's getting beaten down by Tomura, and it's like, or whoever he's fighting, and he's just like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to win this. And then all of a sudden, All Might just shows up on the All Might plane, and then Hercules, drops out of the plane, and it hits the ground, and All Might's just like, I'm coming, young Midoriya! And he just like runs down Tomura, just hits him with a car, and just sends him flying. All Might gets out, and he's just like, I'm here to help you. And he just pulls out this giant railgun from the back seat, pushes a button or something, and the AI in the car activates and just unloads on Tomura, and just like, all right, that'll give us a few seconds to buy time. Let's do this. And then he activates his Iron Man suit, and just giant railgun, like, all right, Midoriya, let's do this. Let's finish him off once and for all. Once and for all. There you go. One and for all. Yeah, okay. That would work. That would work. Okay, how long is this video? This is about 16 minutes, so it's a little bit shorter than most of my videos I do, but I think we're good. This is just going to be a video for vacations and stuff. I really wanted to talk about that. I knew that wasn't going to be a very elaborate video to begin with. Basically me just fanboying over All Might's car and then him possibly becoming Iron Man. But let me know what you think, because that's a cool concept, right? Is it not? Is it not? All right. Later, everybody. Let me know below how you think All Might could still fight. Other cool stuff he could do. Signing out. Later.